Hello, and welcome to Lead, Learn, Connect, where we explore the worlds of training, coaching, and powerful leadership. I'm your host, Alan Krieger, and on this show we talk about not just the how of helping others grow, but behind-the-scenes work of overcoming challenges and staying connected to what's really important. My guest today is April Terry, Program Manager of Live Customer Events with ActiveCampaign. ActiveCampaign is an autonomous marketing platform that handles marketing, including email campaigns, SMS messages, and WhatsApp. April manages a program called Study Hall with 12 trainers around the world. She has been in learning development world for 6 years and has a lot of insights to share. Whether you're a new trainer, a seasoned facilitator, or just curious about what it takes to thrive in this world, this episode is for you. Welcome, April.
Hi, Alan. Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, it's great to have you on and look forward to an interesting conversation.
Oh, yes.
So one of the themes we've been talking about is learner engagement. And you have a whole strategy you've developed. You do these live sessions around the U.S. and talk about some of the things you do to make sure learners stay engaged. It's always a challenge for trainers.
Yeah, it definitely is always a challenge for trainers. And, I'll give you a little bit of background about me. I studied elementary education. I was going to teach kids. And I mention that because when you talk about engagement, I think sometimes people think, oh, they've come to my training, they've paid for my training, and because they're here and because we're all adults, people will just be interested and engage. I don't need to do extra things, right, to engage folks. And we know that is wrong. If anything, it takes even more effort to, I think, engage adults because it has to be highly relevant for them to want to pay attention. So again, I know that you know these things, but some of the things that I've started to do are, from the simple side all the way to bringing in some technology. From number one, making sure that everybody in the room has had an opportunity to speak. So regardless of the size of the class, I make sure and encourage everybody to make sure that everyone has done intros. So starting off, everybody has opened up their mouth, kind of like an icebreaker, if you will, for everybody, but everyone has spoken. Another thing too, just tips that I actually learned from Sandler Sales Solutions. I don't know if you're familiar with Sandler as a sales methodology, but I was trained in Sandler. And one of the tools that they say is to call people out or to call on people. And when you do so, you can ask questions, but you don't want to ask a question with a right or wrong answer. You want to ask people questions just where they give their opinion. And, we know that because people don't want to look stupid in front of others, especially in front of trainers or people that they're working with, strangers or people that they're working with. So another strategy that I implement is asking people once everybody has done their intros. We have nameplates at everybody's desk. I call people. Hey, Alan, we just talked about the customer journey. What are you currently doing in the customer journey that works well? And it gives you an opportunity just to share and highlight maybe some of the really cool things that you're doing within the class without making you feel like, oh, there's such a wrong answer. And then, of course, certainly virtually, we are all familiar with, technology tools, maybe like Slido or Mentimeter or something like that, where you can stop and ask folks a question. And I've really started to pull that in a lot more. And we could talk about this even more, but not only to keep people engaged, but to also pull some insights from folks. So once again, I work for a software company. I might have people, while I'm demoing a part of the platform, submit feedback in their questions during my presentation that we can go back to later, or I can share within the team. So bringing in that technology piece as well is another way that I've started to increase engagement. And I'll share, you mentioned we're a global team and that our platform supports WhatsApp. Here in America, we don't really do much with WhatsApp, but everywhere else in the world they do. I guess it's like the metric system, right? In Latin America, some of my teammates, Antonella and Julia, they actually use WhatsApp in the class to help generate engagement. So in the same way that I'm using some polling software to gather feedback or insight, they, might have two trainers in the room and they're using WhatsApp, creating a WhatsApp, chat group to have conversation while somebody is up in the front of the room. Somebody may be sending articles, like another ActiveCampaign employee is sending articles and links and things like that as folks are asking questions. So it really does, again, keep everybody engaged and interested because they're able to talk about the things that are relevant to them. And then we, start to get some insights too on the back end that we could use for other purposes.
Okay, and you're providing training in a software, right? In this session,
Yeah.
and do you have the participants try some of that themselves as they're there? Or?
Absolutely. So it's a mix of both, right? People are coming in because most folks are customers and have been in the platform for, anywhere from 6 months to I've had customers who have been in the platform for 10 years. So they are coming to learn more about the platform, but it's marketing software. There's a lot of methodology and strategy and thought leadership that we're sharing as well. And so it is a mix of both of those things in the class.
Okay, and when we talked before, you also talked about some pre-work you do to kind of be able to tailor your sessions a little bit.
We do. And I just realized that I missed part of your first question, which was, do we ask people to do things in the software? So yeah, in addition to, I'll answer that and then maybe we can circle back around. In addition to sharing some of this thought leadership and strategy, we have about 15 to maybe 20 minutes of instruction time and then 15 minutes of activity time. And we have a workbook that folks do, and it's a great tool and resources that they can use after class to continue doing work within their account. But in this workshop, it's not all lecture. We bake in a lot of time for folks to get in the platform, do some of these guided activities. And then us as trainers, we're product experts. So we're walking around guiding people through an exercise or answering any of their questions as well. So that was the first part of your question. I'm sorry,
Yep.
I kind
Okay.
of went on a diatribe there. The second question that you asked was around what type of pre-work we do, right, before the class. So we're continuing to scale this and use AI, I think, and some other technologies to do this. But once again, in a classroom setting like what we have, all of our customers are different. I get people in healthcare and higher education, in automotive services, HVAC, big companies, small companies. And so there's no way that you can personalize all of that content. But if we know who the audience is ahead of time, there is a little bit of research that we can do to inform maybe some of the strategies or automation recipes, or here are ideas for campaigns that are great for that type of industry and size. So when folks are signing up for a study hall, we're looking at their email addresses, we're checking out like what is the business, finding out a little bit of background information, and then trying to adapt little by little what are some relevant pieces of information, tools and tips that would be relevant for that particular customer and industry.
Okay, and the group is 15 to 30, so you actually have the ability to do a little bit of tailoring for that size. It's not too big.
Yeah, we do. And in our Australian classes, they can go up to 50. So the tailoring maybe not quite as big there, but one differentiation for the larger classes is they do roundtables. And I know we talked about engagement earlier, but engagement doesn't always have to be from the trainer and facilitator. It could be the facilitation of conversation with folks in the classroom. So having these roundtables also keeps people engaged because again, it starts that collaboration between peers and customers, and sometimes the insights that they come up with themselves are even better than the things that we could even start talking about. So we have customer roundtables at some of the bigger events, but then also try to encourage collaboration at our smaller events as well.
Okay, it sounds like you've got a pretty well thought out plan. You've been doing this for a while. You've recently been promoted, so you must be doing well with it.
Thank you.
What are some of the challenges that you've faced, and how have you addressed that to make the program even more effective?
Yeah, I think, some of the challenges could be around the pre-work, right? Like making sure that you gather all of that information and can prepare. On the AMER side, we do, I think, I mentioned this before, we do 30 to 40 events a year. There was one stretch. Now, granted, I signed up for this. Nobody forced me to do this, but I did like 12 weeks of like back to back travel. And so trying to tweak content and engage at that frequency is difficult. So for myself, and I know we're going to talk about my team communication style later, but trying to hold myself back from doing maybe too much at that high of frequency, I think has been a challenge. Um, I would say that, maybe another challenge is in my new role, getting everybody aligned and figuring out that balance of how do we make sure that this program is structured globally, but executed regionally and locally. The same types of conversations that we have in Latin America with WhatsApp are not the same types of conversations that we have in Cincinnati, Ohio, because we're not using WhatsApp. So, how do we ensure that the program and the class and the experience that customers have is going to be equal and level and the same with all of the different pieces of content, right, that folks need to have like localized. And so that would be another thing that we're thinking really strategically about making it easy to execute the program, but flexible enough to be regional.
And what are you doing to walk that line? That is, I can see a challenging line. Cultures are different, people are different, companies are different, different parts of the world, and you've got the same software platform worldwide, so they've got to cover certain things. How have you worked with your team to make that happen?
Yeah, absolutely. Number one, I would say for me, it starts with trust. It starts with trusting that everybody who is in the classroom and the places that I am not in knows the customer and knows the landscape the best. So even though on paper a certain structure might look and feel and fit well, and even I have experienced, after doing this, it might not be great in Sydney. So I think it starts with trusting the folks that are in the classroom and saying, okay, if that is the experience, then let's make sure that we build that experience within this system and structure. And what I'm looking to build is a global like program council and regional leads that are able to provide that insight, and that we create a structure that is collaborative and use technology to push out some of these simple updates. When we have a new feature or an announcement or something like that, I think we can use some technology to push that out to everybody, but give them the empowerment to just take the information and integrate it in the way that's going to work best for their region and class.
Okay, and so trust and have competency. There was a famous quote from a former American president: "Trust but verify." So
Right.
you talked about you also gather some information, some feedback or analytics to find out how it's going. Does that feed into your team conversations?
Absolutely. I would say personally, as a trainer, um, as soon as I'm done with an event on the way to the airport in my lift, I am looking at the feedback and analyzing like what went well, what maybe I shouldn't be doing that. But feedback is really important, and it is one of the ways that we're leveraging AI as well is to take all of this feedback and very quickly be able to identify themes if there's anything that we need to change. One thing I'm very, very proud of is that this program over the past 2 years with, almost 100 in events, maybe within the past 2 years, has a 4.9 average trainer rating. We have
Wow.
an incredibly high, yes. People love coming to study halls. Globally, our trainers are doing well. So we get a lot of really great feedback. It's just understanding again, how can we get even better? And with some of that feedback, and when we're actually in the tool I kind of mentioned earlier, getting feedback on like product, it not only takes our program from being, oh, this is a really cool event for customers to attend, to, oh, this could be a strategic growth maneuver, as we are sharing insights with our product team because our customers are doing these things live. We could be sharing insights with our partner team to say, hey, these are some of the maybe services that we could offer our customers because these are some of the frequently asked questions and or services that they are requesting. I think that training and customer education can really be a great partner and lever because that feedback can tell you a lot of insights more than just the event training itself. You could use it for other things too.
Okay, so yeah, let's talk a little bit about your team style. You mentioned it earlier. You took the assessment, and from hearing you talk, you can get a sense that you're a very analytical person, and in fact, you scored really high on the A style. And talk about how that fits in with your world and where you've maybe had to adapt sometimes, where the A isn't the best style for parts of your job. So.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm sure you could tell that I scored very, very high on the A side. I almost was like, are there even other letters that are available because it was so high? So certainly making precise and logical decisions. I've actually got it pulled up right here. Taking the time to, really understand a problem and come up with a solution. I think that has served very well in a program like this. This program has actually been around for, you know, 7 years. I haven't been at ActiveCampaign that long, but the program has been, here before I was. And so the program that started 70 years ago is not the same that it is today. And there are some challenges that come with that. So my ability to analyze and come up with solutions to help us scale and grow, it has been a big W. But the challenge sometimes is I like to do everything right.
Yeah.
I want everything to be perfect, and nothing is perfect. People aren't perfect. I'm not perfect. And so I really have to take a step and say, what level of execution is necessary here? What level of problem solving is actually necessary here? And be able to recognize you might be doing too much analyzing. Um, I mentioned before, I love technology. AI has been a good helper, I think, in that too, because sometimes I will ask, like, this is the way I'm thinking about a particular situation. Am I over analyzing it? And it has given me feedback like, yes, sis, you are doing that too much. So I'm definitely trying to do that and take that within the PM role. And then, we talked about this a little bit before with customers because I recognize the opportunities and the solutions could be endless. A customer doesn't want endless solutions. They want one, and they want one that works fast and works really well. And so I feel like personally sometimes I need to temper down the excitement that I have for everything that we could do and drill down to know this is what you need to get from like step A to step B.
Okay, so when in your lift going to the next plane, you're reading your feedback, your analyzed mind is going full tilt, you're organizing all this information, but then you have to distill it down. When you get up on the stage, you got to keep it simple, keep it direct, and let go of all that perfection. That is the downfall of the A's. That's both their strength and weakness. They like to be perfect, meaning they do a really good job. They take the time and do it well. But the downfall is nothing is ever perfect, and we do have to move on. Also, when we were talking earlier, you mentioned that sometimes making a quick decision can be a challenge. Talk about what you do sometimes when you're feeling kind of stuck on a decision.
Yeah, I just agonize over decision making, to be honest with you. Um, there was a quote once that said, if it's not going to make an impact or, big change in the next 5 years, don't spend more than 5 minutes on it. And so I think I try to adopt that when I feel myself slipping into something that really isn't that big of a deal. Go back to, what's the worst that could happen here? Like, just make the decision. The other thing too is bringing in the people. If people are waiting on me to make a decision, that is a blocker. And I know how that feels. That is super frustrating to be waiting on a decision that really doesn't matter. And so I feel like bringing in that maybe empathy helps me speed up the process a little bit, because I don't want to be the blocker to somebody else's great idea, excellence, or, just whatever they need to do.
Okay, great. Well, yeah, and that these styles are not a lock, even though you scored very high on the A. That really is your strength, and that is your preference. That's how you like to operate. But you've learned to be in the world. You've got to do T, E's, and M's as well. You've got to be able to make quick decisions. You've got to be able to empathize and connect with people on a personal level. So you've been able to kind of take on all those other actions, although your heart and where you like to go, you'd love to spend all your day in A would be a fun place for you, but not many places in the world you can just do that. So
Yeah,
yeah,
I would love to spend all my time there.
that's a great description. Thank you. And just to to circle back before we wrap up, you mentioned that you started as an elementary education teacher. How did you end up in the L&D space in a technology company?
Yeah. I wanted to be a teacher, like, since I was little. Even I had classmates that were like, you know what? You do a great job at explaining things. Like, you should be an educator. So I always had that kind of planted in the back of my mind. And then I went and got my undergrad in elementary education. I was an athlete, and I had another year of eligibility. I was a track and field athlete. I had another year of eligibility, and my college had this brand new program that was a business management master's degree for people who did not study business. And one of my colleagues, my friends, went through it and absolutely loved the program. And I was like, why not me? I don't know how education and business is going to merge together, but I decided to go for it. A big perk of that program too is that they hooked you up basically with a job. And the job that I got connected to was at a software technology company working in organizational development and HR. And I really just fell in love with HR and this kind of introduction into management and learning and development. That company got acquired, and my role shifted into sales enablement. And I remember when they first said, would you be interested in sales enablement? I was like, I don't know why you guys are asking me this. I've never sold a Girl Scout cookie. What can I give salespeople? But that education background helped with um, knowing how to put together a program, knowing how to explain things. And then the business, came in and gave me a little bit more landscape about learning the business side. So that's how I got into sales enablement. Was there for a little bit, and then now I'm in customer facing education with this role.
Okay, so in some ways we all are still children, so having that elementary education foundation is probably a good one, and
Yeah.
gave you some structure in that, and then you picked up some great tips along the way. So, wow, good story. And nobody yet I've talked to has gone to college to be an L&D professional. We all find our
Yeah.
ways here in very different ways. So, well, thanks, April. Unfortunately, we're out of time, but that's it for today's episode of Lead, Learn, Connect. A huge thank you to April Terry for sharing her experience and knowledge. If you found this to be helpful, be sure to subscribe, share it with a colleague, and leave a review. You can find more about April and how to get in touch in the show notes. And if you're ready to strengthen how you teach or coach communication, click the link to our website to learn more about the team model of communication, and follow us on LinkedIn. Until next time, keep leading with intention, keep learning, and keep connecting. Thanks for listening.